As if smiling at a flower, you are showered with love that is both sweet and sour. Welcome to Otome Gaming. This is a review of Him, the Smile and Bloom for the Nintendo Switch. A little warning, I try to keep my reviews mostly spoiler-free, focusing on information you would get from the first 2 to 3 chapters in game, and also the overall tone and quality of the game. Because Hanaemu Kare does not consist of a common route, I will be showing footage and talking about each individual character route more than I normally would in a review. So you might hear or see a few more minor spoilers than usual. If you want to avoid all of that, I suggest you skip to the end where I give my final thoughts and final score. Based on the hit drama CD series, Hanaemu Kare and Bloom, or Hana Kare for short, Him, the Smile and Bloom is an otome game that follows 4 separate female protagonists and their love stories all connected by a charming little flower shop called Flower. Unlike most otome games where you follow the branching storylines of one female protagonist, or games like Norn 9 which have multiple female protagonists with multiple potential love interests, in Hana Kare there are only 4 major story routes, each featuring both an individual male love interest and an individual female protagonist with their own personality and backstories. The game starts with a quick mini intro introducing the flower associated with each route, along with a little preview of what that route's story is about, narrated in a few lines by the corresponding male lead. After that, the game's opening video plays, and you are soon given a screen showcasing all 4 love interests. From here, you can pick whoever you would like to play. None of the stories are locked out from each other. However, showcased in the mini intro, there is a soft recommended order to play through. This is the order I played the game in, and it's the one that I also recommend. All 4 love stories happen around the same time in game, and all of the male leads and most of the side characters will make an appearance in each route. If nothing else, I think starting with Wataru is a great introduction to the characters and the flower shop as a setting. Serena Aoki and Wataru Tori. In this route, you play as Serena, a veteran employee of Flower. The route starts with Serena prepping for a local Tanabata festival, setting up a pop-up tent for the florist shop with special seasonal items for customers to enjoy. A sudden rain shower introduces us to our male lead, who takes shelter under Flower's festival tent after Serena calls out to him. It's during some idle chit-chat that another sudden rain shower erupts, this time from Wataru's face. He's been cheated on by his girlfriend, and Serena is just that nice big sister type that listens to a complete stranger have a breakdown while also patting him on the back to comfort him. Of course, he immediately falls in love with her. There's a short time skip, and suddenly Wataru is a new part-timer at the store and is very excited when Serena is put in charge of training him. He announces his love for her after the first day of work. His announcement was so sudden, I burst out laughing. 2 meetings and he's already confessing. Also, he literally just broke up with someone. He does, however, let her know that he isn't expecting a reply because they've only just met each other after all, so at least he's self-aware. Serena and Wataru are the younger man in love with an older woman trope, with a 5-year age difference between them. They also double as a junior in love with his superior trope, or the kohai-senpai dynamic if you're familiar with Japanese culture. Wataru is the definition of golden retriever boyfriend. He's always getting excited and is always making sure Serena knows how much he likes her. His adorable, childish antics constantly have her thinking he's cute, which of course he pouts about, which then of course she finds cute. Watching them work together in the store and fall in love was an absolute fluffy, sweet time. Their love story is the least conflict-driven. Ami Akashi and Jinosuke Sugawa. In this route, you play as Ami, a junior employee at Second Spring, an interior design company who has been tasked with the redesign of a local Flower store. Ami has fond memories of Flower, a store that often makes deliveries of fresh flowers to the office every few weeks. When she was first starting out as a Second Spring employee, she met a young, prince-like florist who kindly taught her how to care for the office's flowers and encouraged her hard work. His customer service and kind aura stuck with her, and she often thought of him as a goal to strive for when interacting with her own customers. While working on a proposal for Flower's new shop design, Ami is frustratingly overruled by her superior. He just wants her to use their pre-approved templates, disregarding all the research she's put into running a florist shop. It's frustrating, but there isn't much she can do about it, so she presents the documents her superior so kindly fixed for her during the next client meeting. It's during this meeting that she is serendipitously reunited with the florist from her past, Jinosuke Sugawa, Flower's kind and handsome prince. However, her illusions of the gentle, kind man of her past are soon shattered as he lets his displeasure of the lackluster redesign documents be known. She's barely able to salvage the situation as Gin rightfully calls them out on their mediocre work. Ami and Gin filled the trope of the two-faced charmer and the straightforward woman who knows it's dangerous to fall for a guy like that, but just can't help it. Their route is more mature, with an emphasis on two people who normally put work first but can't help the budding feelings they have for each other as they're both put in close proximity. Ging's distinction in personality when it comes to customer service versus those he views as friends was fun to read. He teases Ami often and can be blunt, but she pushes right back at him, matching his energy, which is honestly what he probably needed in order to take any love interest seriously. Fuka, Haruyoshi, and Hokuto Ichige. In this route, you play as Fuka, a young office worker with an unrequited love for her childhood friend. The childhood friend is Hokuto Ichige, the manager of one of the local Fillflower locations. The two are close, with their parents often meeting up for family dinners and karaoke nights, as well as spending holidays together. They've known each other for almost 20 years now and are known in the area by many of the local shop owners. As a new year begins, Fuka tries her best to show off her womanly charms. She vows to be less childish and more mature in her attempts to, once again, have Hoku look at her as a woman and not a younger sister, as he is often known to refer to her as. Hoku, of course, is absolutely obtuse, or rather, he's doing his best to ignore his own feelings in favor of the norm he's grown accustomed to for the past 20 years. Fuka and Hoku are the childhood friends to lovers trope. Their relationship is pretty codependent at times, with their bad end being borderline emotional abuse. Hoku is an absolute dummy in this route, with their eventual get-together not happening till much later than the others. With that being said, once they were together, Hoku for sure decided to make up for the years lost in the intimacy department. And finally, Miku Yukihira and Tenya Minami. In this route, you play as Miku, a young woman working in a botanical garden who is returning to Japan after 2 years living in Canada, working at a sister company as an international coordinator. Miku is a sweet girl with a deep love for plants, often talking to them as she cares for them and buying academic botany texts and magazines during her free time. Since she's been gone for 2 years, her parents have turned her bedroom into a storage closet, so Miku uses this opportunity as an excuse to look for an apartment and move out on her own. Because of her love of flowers, she visits the local Fillflower in her new town. It's here that she runs into an old high school classmate, Tenya Minami, who quickly takes the opportunity to ask her out to drinks. Shocked that Tenya even remembers her, let alone wants to spend time with her, Miku agrees. It's during this reunion that the two reacquaint themselves with each other. Though they didn't speak often while in school, they both have their own lingering affectionate feelings for the other, and it doesn't take long for Tenya to get right to it, suggesting Miku start dating him since she doesn't currently have a boyfriend. Miku and Tenya are the high school crush/one that got away trope. Though they didn't interact much in school, one interaction in particular left a large impact on each of them, especially Tenya, who equates much of his current life to the influence Miku had on him in their younger years. This realization is an ever-present anxiety in the back of Miku's mind. She also makes the suggestion that they spend half a week as friends and the other half dating, as this is her first relationship and she feels overwhelmed by the sudden bar set for her as a romance newbie. Their story is sweet, with Tenya's quiet but direct personality matching well with Miku's own quiet demeanor. His straightforwardness helps her have the courage to also speak out about what she's feeling and wants. Proper communication is a strong theme in this one, and Miku's own anxieties of inadequacy and self-inflicted pressures was relatable to see in a young adult protagonist. Each route has 14 to 15 chapters of story, followed by one of 3 possible endings and a special side story that unlocks after completing a character's route. I found the game to be a very straightforward, quick read. Completing the whole game took me roughly 18 to 20 hours. It's a low-stakes, pure romance slice-of-life game, with conflicts being resolved pretty directly and revolving solely around the characters' communication with one another. Hanaemu Kare is a quick palate cleanser before diving into a more plot-intense game. It's about spending time with your flower shop working boyfriend, and sometimes that's all you need in a game. I particularly enjoyed Wataru and Tenya's routes, with Gin coming up second and Hoku being my least favorite, though not unenjoyable in its own way. If you want to unlock everything in game when it comes to the cutscene graphics, then you will have to play all the endings in game along with the extra side stories. It can be rough when a game makes you play through the bad end, and these endings were definitely sad, especially with how realistic they felt for how each individual romance could potentially sour. Wataru and Gin left my heart aching, Tenya left me frustrated, and Hokuto's was mildly triggering. Yuya once again knocks it out of the park with beautiful CGs and character sprites. It's safe to say at this point that I'm a bit biased when it comes to Yuya's work, as they are one of my favorite Otome game artists right now. If you've played Cupid Parasite or Café Enchanté and are looking forward to 9RIP, then you've seen and you know how gorgeous Yuya's art is. The CG gallery can be a little picky to figure out if you're not paying attention. When looking through the game's memory section, you're first shown a list of each individual route chapter to replay whenever you'd like after playing them in game. It's here where you need to press the ZR and ZL buttons to get access to the character's CGs as well as individual ending videos. It took me 2 playthroughs before I realized these were hidden away, and I'm glad I did because I was ready to rip the game apart for it. I had a whole rant written up that will now never see the light of day. The backgrounds are detailed and pretty, but with the game mostly centered in one area, they can be pretty repetitive. The character sprites have mouth movements and eye blinking to help bring them to life, although a few characters will sometimes freeze into a mildly alarming smile from time to time. There are quite a few outfit changes for the male leads during different moments and seasons in game, which was really nice to see. I do wish we could have had character sprites for the female leads during conversations. I think it would have really helped the story and emotions come across, considering all the expressiveness of the other in-game sprites. The sound of game is good. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's not bad either. The opening theme and ending song are the highlights, with singer Mao's vocals always a joy to hear, and the rest of the soundtrack is modern and fits the game's tone. Sadly, the female protagonist's name is never spoken in-game, so there's no need to stick with default names if you're hoping to hear it. But with 4 leading ladies, that's way too many new names to try and come up with for me, so I just stuck with the default names like I always do. With this game being pure romance and with a rating of 17+, you might want to wear headphones if you're out in public during the more intimate moments in game, especially during Gin Hokuto's routes. The dedication of the voice actors to devouring their microphones was admirable. One mildly annoying thing is the fact that the voice lines will not stop when you click through to the next line, unless it's also a voiced line. It's a nitpicky thing, but it feels like it should just be the standard, as it's not an issue I typically run into with other Otome games. A few other nitpicks I had included a lack of skip to next choice button, so replaying each route 3 times for the 3 different endings became a bit of a hassle. Also, kind of annoying was the fact that although there was a backlog, there wasn't the option to go backwards to a previous line in the game. Again, it's just something that's typically the standard in an Otome game or even most straightforward visual novels. The English translation for Hanaemu Kare is rough. The typos are frequent and weirdly consistent when it came to missing capital letters for the phrase all right. Wataru Tori's name was also consistently misspelled 3 different ways throughout all 4 game routes. There were a lot of pronoun switching, which can cause a lot of confusion for readers. He became she and vice versa, as well as weird switchings of I versus you versus me. In one route, the spelling he for laughter turned into which was very confusing to read as the female lead, and only when the male lead spoke his lines out loud did I realize what was going on. I had assumed it was a weird translation for one of the sounds that's usually made in Japanese when you're pondering something, but it was the laugh track. One moment in particular that really stuck out to me was the use of the word reviled, which I'm pretty sure was supposed to be the word relieved. There's a big difference there. That being said, it's not that the game is unreadable, but if it had just a little tweaking, it would make the game so much better. Although I can't attest to this, it's pretty clear that the game was translated by a native Japanese speaker who learned English as a second language, rather than a native English speaker who learned Japanese as a second language. Because of this, there's just some nuances that are either missed in translation or in general could have just been a lot smoother. I'm also pretty convinced that there was more than one translator on this project, which is normal, but where one route felt a little stiff and directly translated, another would take initiative to add their own spin on a translation to add extra flair to a personality. For example, translating a phrase that would normally mean something looked delicious to that's dope. Right now, the game is only available through the Japanese eShop or through buying a physical copy from Japan, so it wasn't necessarily planned for an English audience to begin with, but was probably more of an afterthought. Most likely due to the genre's growing Western fanbase. I obviously can't claim that they didn't have a native English speaker look over the game, but that's how it feels, and it's safe to say quality control could have used a few extra eyes. There's a lot of work that goes into translating a game into another language. It's not just about writing a direct word-for-word translation. There are nuances, area-specific slang, and cultural differences that need to be taken into account. A simple phrase in one language might have many different meanings, and the context of the conversation needs to be paid attention to so that it makes the most sense for the story as a whole and also to the player reading the story. I'm not saying all of this to put the game down. I genuinely enjoyed the stories, and I'm really happy that the company made the decision to release the game simultaneously in Japanese and English. The fact that you can switch between both languages is a great learning tool for language learners. I hope the company and others continue to do this in the future. I just also hope that they continue to improve their English translation in the future as well. This game is short and sweet with pretty art and a rough English translation. Because the game isn't available in Western eShops and the translation isn't really up to par with other localized games like those worked on by Axis and Idea Factory, it's a little hard to recommend it to English-only players, especially at full price and with the hoops you might have to jump through in order to buy it. With that being said, I really enjoyed the game, but I can also understand Japanese. Otome Gaming gives Hanaemu Kare and Bloom a final rating of 3.2 out of 5. Hanaemu Kare has a CERO rating of D, the Japanese rating system indicating the game is suitable for those 17 years older and above. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and a comment or even subscribing if you're interested in seeing more.